introductory kind of webinar on what ChiRunning is. So I think all of you came to this webinar from through Facebook, I believe. It was a Facebook campaign that we did. And if you signed up on that Facebook campaign, you might or might not have clicked on to get 3 free videos. They were describing the 3 biggest mistakes people make that keep them from becoming a better runner. And I hope you did get a chance to watch those. And so since you were on that list, we wanted to send out an invitation to do this live ChiRunning webinar so you could come and ask any questions you had after having watched those videos. So I just want to make sure everybody's pretty clear on what this thing is about and what's possible with it. What I'm going to do is I have a little PowerPoint set up, and I'm going to go through a lot of the comparisons between conventional running and ChiRunning and try to let you know as well as I can, you know, the main differences. And the reason why this whole thing started was because of me observing the regular running world and seeing a lot of problems with it. Not the least of which is a 65% annual injury rate. So something had to be done about that. It was becoming, you know, that's like almost epidemic proportions. If the CDC found out about this, they would ban running. They would try to figure out a way to not get people to run, because two out of every 3 people get hurt doing this thing. So I really wanted to present a way to and develop a way to so that it wasn't that, because I love running. I've loved running my whole life. I have been injured since I've really worked on running more correctly, have better form, and improving my biomechanics. Since then, I haven't been injured, and that was when I started working on that was in 1991. So I haven't been injured in quite a while. And so my mission is to try to spread that to every runner. You know, I want everybody to be able to run without even worrying about hurting themselves. And that comes from always trying to do the right thing when you're out running. So it's turning running into this whole kind of study of your own movement, how you move best, how you don't move well, and how to figure out when you're not moving well, and then how to learn how to move well. So, you know, figuring out how you don't move well is a lot about what we teach is listening to your body. We call it body sensing. And it's really starting to have a great conversation between your mind and your body, because your mind has this whole thought process going on where I want to run a 5K, I want to beat my neighbor, I want to do all these things, I want to get in shape, I want to lose 30 pounds, I want to, you know, your mind comes up with these great ideas and then your body has to go, wait a minute, dude, you know, this might not happen just as easy as you think it does. And so if you can get your body, if you can listen to your body, where it's resistant, where it's tight, where it's not moving well, a lot of things will go in your way, you know. So it's really learning how to develop a really good partnership between your mind and your body. That's true mind-body work or mindfulness training, whatever you want to call it. It's really learning to coordinate and cooperate the communication between your mind and your body. So that's a lot of the basis of how ChiRunning came about. Now, for those of you who might not know, you know, I've been teaching this for 18 years or something like that. That's when I started, but it was all developed out of my practice of Tai Chi, which is a martial art, and it's very much grounded in body sensing. It's a martial art, so there has to be some kind of way that as a person in Tai Chi, you need to learn how to move your body well. You need to learn how to sense your opponent and how to respond to your opponent. And if you're off balance or tense or stiff or overreaching, you're going to lose. You know, it's all a contest. Who's still standing at the end? All right. So Tai Chi has all these principles to show you how to move in a way where you stay balanced, where you stay centered, where you don't overuse your muscles, where you use the leverage of your opponent and all these things. And, you know, my Tai Chi teacher helped me to devise this whole way of taking all of those best principles out of Tai Chi and applying them to running and to walking. So I've done that with both, and they fit. They work great. In fact, my Tai Chi instructors said that, you know, these principles can apply to any sport at all: tennis, golf, hockey, you name it. All of these same principles that make Tai Chi such a great body work type of martial art can be applied to anything. And then what I realized after doing this for many years is the principles in Tai Chi can apply to life. It's not just about running. It's not just about walking. It's about, you know, how do you stay balanced as you move through life? How do you stay aligned with what you're doing? How do you stay relaxed? How do you know, all those same principles can be applied. But what's cool about it is that through ChiRunning or the Chi walking, for some of you who are walkers, you can learn the principles through that activity, but then transfer those principles over to your life. And that's when it really gets fun. It really gets interesting, in fact. So I'm going to start this little PowerPoint. And like I said, at any time, if any of you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself and speak up, okay? So let me go to my screen share here, and I'll go over to my, okay, hold on just a sec. I'm going to put this in full screen. Play. Good, there we go. Now I'm in this mode. And there we go. So now, can everybody see my screen? Can you nod your head if you see this PowerPoint pop up? I can't really see it from my end, so I'll trust that you guys are seeing it. So here, I'm going to use my cursor. I don't have a bigger version of it, but if you can follow my little arrow, I will go through all these bullet points. Let me start back at the start. Okay, ChiRunning versus conventional running. What are the main differences? Okay, so I just happened to pick this pair of pictures because it's kind of representative of what I see out there. So people who are more in line with the ChiRunning principles look like the women on the left, and people who are what I would call conventional runners have more of a tendency to have this kind of a foot strike, have an upright posture, overstriding, all kinds of things that cause injury. And I'll explain how they can hurt your body, so that I'll talk you through that, and why the woman on the left would be much less likely to hurt herself running. So that's what it's all about. And it's not just about injury prevention, it's also about energy efficiency. It's all about, if you're going to go out and run, and I'm sure some of you will nod your head when I ask, you know, do you get tired when you run? Do you get tired right off the bat? Do you get tired after 10 miles? It's if you're working inefficiently with your body, you're going to get tired sooner and totally wear out faster. But if you can learn how to run in a way that's highly efficient, you can last longer. And the cool part is you get to have more fun while you're running because you're not always wiped out. So let me go to the next slide here. So there's some of the basic differences. Now I just wrote down some general differences. Okay, so I'm going to talk about conventional running. Most of the approach to conventional running, for most people, is goal-based. I want to lose weight, I want to get faster, I want to do a 10K, I want to, you know, it's something external. It's something that they have a goal to do, right? And that's it. That's pretty much why people run, okay? If you go across to the other column, the approach from ChiRunning, it's really trying to learn something as you go through the same process of the people on the left. So it's process-based. So you're using to use your mind. It's a mindfulness practice. It's about body sensing, which is what I talked about before. It's doing those things to accomplish the same goals as the other list, except what does that make, how is that different for you? Okay, so if you have this goal-based list and you approach it from a way of process-oriented, where you just do build up in increments, you don't build too fast. If you're using this coordination between your mind and body, then you will always be listening to if your body starts complaining, coming up with a pain somewhere, you can listen to it and go, oh, well, what can I do differently to make that go away? Whereas somebody who's just purely training, okay, I just got this Al Higdon program offline, and it says run 3 miles today, run 4 miles tomorrow, run 6 hill intervals on Thursday, and that's what I'm doing. There is no mindfulness aspect about, oh, listen to your body, because you might be overtraining if you're running too hard in one of those interval workouts, or putting in too many intervals before your body's ready. So it's all about always checking in with your body. Okay, so the ChiRunning way is just all around, just much more mindful generally. Now, conventional running, you drop down to the next little thing, propulsion. Now everybody thinks, okay, the way to run is to push yourself forward with your legs, right? Okay, that's how most people think about running. It relies mostly on your legs for propulsion, and for that reason has a very high rate of overuse injuries. 65% in fact of all runners. An overuse injury, so there's 2 types of injuries that you can get from running, generally 2 types, besides getting hit by a bus or something like that, that you really can't predict. Okay, so there's overuse and impact injuries. Overuse is muscles. So if you're pushing too hard or going too far beyond what your body's capable of doing, you can get an overuse injury. It's a muscle pull, it's a strain, a tear, something like that. That's an overuse injury. An impact injury is what happens when you land, when you hit the ground. So one injury happens when you push off, and one injury happens when you land. So, if we go back to this one, the lady in the pink shirt, she's really pushing off hard. And then she's landing really hard. You see how the harder she pushes and the further she sticks that leg out in front of herself, the harder that heel is going to hit the ground. So it happens very differently if your heel doesn't hit the ground out in front of your body, but lands more underneath you. Okay, and I'll show more of the propulsion differences as we go. So the propulsion in conventional running relies mostly on your legs. So the propulsion in ChiRunning, as you'll see, is that it's gravity assisted. So really, basically, you run with this slight forward fall. And if you're falling forward, what's pulling you into a fall? Gravity, right? So if you can learn to cooperate with that forward fall, balance yourself in a forward fall, where gravity is consistently pulling you forward into this nice falling motion. And if you don't just use your legs to run with, if you use your arms for balance, if you can change the weight distribution of your body and the workload to your body, then it becomes a very different way to propel yourself. So if you can imagine all of your body working as a unit to help you move forward, it's much more efficient and injury preventive than it is to just rely on your legs. So it just makes sense. Many hands make easy work. And so if you're just using on your legs, in fact, most runners, when they run in conventional running, mostly overuse their lower legs. Now, if you can imagine yourself running down the road, when you're pushing off with your legs, you're actually, the last part to leave the ground is your toes, right? So you're actually pushing forward with your toes. So at the very last of your propulsion phase of your stride, most of your body weight is supported by your big toe or a couple of the medial toes, right? That's a lot of work required by some of the smallest muscles in your whole body, right? That's why people get metatarsal stress fractures. It's why people get shin splints, because those little, the muscles on the front of your shins are small compared to the larger muscles in your core. Likewise, the muscles, your Achilles tendon can get pulled from pushing too hard. Your calves people get calf pulls all the time. So think about, most of the running injuries happen from the knees on down. Runner's knee, right? You get runner's knee, you get shin splints, you get calf pulls, Achilles tendon pulls, plantar fasciitis, heel spurs, bunions, metatarsal stress fractures. to name a few. But if you'll think about that list, that is most of the running injuries, period. Most of them happen from the knees on down. So if you can get to the point where you're not ever using that part of your leg, what does that do to your injury rate? It goes out the window. You are no longer injured. You don't have to worry about it because you're not overusing those little muscles in your lower leg. Okay, so injury prone, go back to the left-hand list, overuses the legs and pays little attention to impact. The only attention conventional runners pay to impact is to get thicker heeled shoes, right? Okay, so you're going to hit the ground pretty hard, so you might as well get some shoes with a really thick heel to cushion that fall. All right, so if you see traditional running shoes have been built for years with a very thick heel and a thinner forefoot. Okay, that's because they expect you to really hit hard with your heels. What if you didn't hit with your heels? You know, and what happens is if you have a very high elevated heel on your running shoes, that actually creates the situation where you hit the ground sooner than you would normally. Does that make sense? Because that heel is thicker, and if that's leading out in front of your body, you're going to hit the ground sooner if you have higher heeled shoes. Okay, so we teach people to run and land more on their midfoot so that heel isn't sticking out in front, creating impact. Injury prone is on the conventional running. Our whole goal is to be injury preventive, and that uses the pull of gravity, so that lowers the amount of pushing with your muscles, but it also reduces impact to the joints because you're creating less and less and less impact because you're not reaching with your legs anymore. Okay, and so conventional running, what is it? It's mostly pushing hard with high impact, trying to get the best results you can. So if that applies to you, just nod your head. Okay, so ChiRunning, what is it? It's a mindful practice, like I was saying earlier, to learn good running skills, and as I said, they can transfer over into life skills like mental focus, relaxation, body sensing, breathing. There's a huge list. So would you rather just accomplish goals, or would you rather learn all of these great skills that you can use in many different areas of your life? So if you got on a run and your main goal is to train yourself how to relax, then at some point you'll start getting some skill with actually getting yourself to relax. And then, when you're in an uptight office meeting at some point and, and you need to relax, you can go back to, oh, now what was that I did? Yeah, I just dropped my shoulders. I breathe a little deeper. I just drop my energy down, whatever it takes, because you learned that skill somewhere else. Okay. Here's some additional differences. Some things that I like to be a proponent of is that if you, some of you probably listened to that 3 free video series. Those are the 3 mistakes everybody makes that keep them from becoming a better runner. Well, one of those mistakes is using the same technique no matter what the conditions are. If you're going up a hill, people use the same technique. If it's snowy out, you use the same technique. If you're going downhill, same technique. Well, that doesn't make any sense. If I'm coming up against a Tai Chi opponent or martial arts opponent, I certainly wouldn't respond in the same way to every single punch or kick the person throws at me. And running is exactly the same. If you go out on a run through your neighborhood or through the forest or wherever you run, you're always going to be challenged by the terrain is going to change. You're going to be going uphill, downhill, running on a street that has a big dome in the middle. You're going to be running on a beach sometime. You don't run with the same technique for every circumstance. So with ChiRunning, we try to teach you how to learn to adapt to all of those circumstances kind of naturally, so that it's not a big thought process, it's more of a body sensing process. So then that way, when you're always responding to your body's needs. If you're going straight up a hill, your body needs to go a little slower. It doesn't have to go as fast as it does on the flat. Makes sense. And then as you adapt your technique, you'll become highly efficient and just, have greater economy of motion. That means, okay, for those of you who want to run distance, 5K, 10K, half or full marathon, if you want to gradually increase your distance, you want to get more efficient. Because that means you're going to have more fun later on in the run instead of just be pounding the pavement and trying to hang on as long as you can. The more efficient you are, the less fuel you burn, the less it takes out on your muscles, the less impact there is. All kinds of things start falling into place. Okay. And then if you learn to vary your technique, then you can always have more speed when you need it. It doesn't matter how strong you are. We can teach you how to run faster by using the leverage of gravity and how your body works more efficiently. So speed is not about strength. And that's kind of counterintuitive to a lot of runners. Okay, think, man, if I'm going to go faster, I've got to push harder. And that's not necessarily true. Okay, so, and then one of the other differences is that you learn how to sense your body in the moment. So you can, data collecting is what I call it. And it's really, okay, what's happening right now? How can I best respond to that? And data collecting can go anywhere from running a really long run and trying to sense when you need fuel, when you need to change your breath rate, when you need to lengthen or shorten your stride, all kinds of things that you can listen to that your body is trying to tell you. So your body has an incredible number of answers, and you can learn a lot just from paying attention to it. Even as much as, like if you're out on a really long run, learn how to rest on the run. I mean, I'm talking without sitting down on a park bench. Okay, so you can really learn how to keep running, but really rest your body. So what does that mean? That means you really up the economy at which you're moving. All right, good. So everybody with me so far? Is there any questions at all? If you have a question about anything I've said so far, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask the question. Don't be shy. Okay, who's it good for? Everybody in this picture. Okay, it's good for beginning runners. The reason why it's good for beginning, and I'll go through the whole list of each one of these, so I'll just list it first. So beginning runners, aging runners, and in fact, everybody in the room is an aging runner. You're gonna, and you're gonna be dealing with what it means to be an aging runner at some point in your life, if not right now, today. Injured runners, hopefully you're not an injured runner, but if you are, we've got a really good system for figuring out how you got injured and changing your running technique so that it never occurs again. Imagine that. You get shin splints. I was just teaching a class here in Asheville last weekend. There was a guy came to the class. Actually, he didn't even want to come to the class. He's a runner, but his wife brought him. Does that sound typical? Okay, so he came to the class. He said, I didn't really want to come to this class because I'm about to give up running because all I do is get shin splints. Every time I put my shoes on and go out for a run, I get shin splints. And come to find out, the guy was an Army Ranger or something like that. And he learned to run in combat boots. And so, of course, he's not going to learn to run correctly carrying those things. And so by the end of the day, though, he came up to me at the end of the day and he says, he didn't just say I feel better. He says, you have changed my life. I've been battling shin splints for like 20 years. And I was, like I said, just about to give up on running. And he says, after today, and we did a lot of running, he said, my shins never hurt once. You got a convert here. Because now I know that I can actually, he says, I like to run, but I just don't like the pain. So anyway, that was just last Saturday. And we hear these messages all the time from people. So all kinds of running injuries, if you can learn to not do what causes the injury never happens again. Why should it? There's no cause for it. All right. So it's also good for mid-pack runners. You think you're just an average runner, just cruising along with everybody else. I'm just out to have a good time, finish the race, right? This is also good for mid-pack runners who aren't necessarily striving to get better. But what happens is the mid-pack runners who are just out to get in some exercise actually find out they get in better shape and feel better, and there's less downtime, less recovery after runs and everything. And then performance runners can notice an effect when they start paying attention to what slows them down. Okay, so that was one of the little messages in the 3 free video series about, you know, people work on building strength before they figure out what is slowing them down first, before they start strength training. Okay, so let's go back over the list. So beginning runners. So if you're a beginning runner and you're just putting on your first pair of running shoes and heading out the door to get fit, okay, it's, we call it starting off with a clean slate. You know, you don't have any bad running habits, but that doesn't mean you're not going to pick up some bad running habits. Okay, we all used to run when we were kids, and many of us ran really beautifully when we were kids. That's because children have this natural way of just falling with gravity, you know, and using it and just staying relaxed in their motion. But let me tell you, it's been a lot of years since you were a kid, right? So you've taken on a lot of poor movement habits, sitting in a desk chair for 20 years, you know, diet, you know, gaining weight, just getting stiff from lack of mobility, all kinds of things. And so it's good for runners, if you're starting off with a clean slate, at least start off with good movement habits. Okay, so and that way you can prevent all of the overuse and impact injuries that happen to most beginning runners. People start off too fast, they take on too much distance, they don't listen to their body, all kinds of things. So we want to make it easier for you guys to run right from your first step. And that's the way to do it. If you're going to have a running career ahead, like I say, start off on the right foot so that you're not overdoing anything. So it's good for injured runners because, as I said, hold on, there we go. Injured runners, because you can figure out and address the true causes of your injuries. So then you can instate healthy running habits so that those causes don't occur again. They're no longer in your repertoire of how you move your body. If you learn how to run better, then you can also speed up your recovery, right? Because you're no longer doing the things that continue getting you hurt. So if you don't do the things that hurt you, then your recovery is going to be much quicker and you'll be back out on the road, you know, much faster. And like on the very bottom is what I'm talking about. You don't perpetuate flawed biomechanics. Okay, so when you're injured, it's a good thing. Believe it or not, it's a blessing because you can find out exactly what you're not doing right if you pay attention. And then if you know how to do it differently, then you're that many steps ahead of the conventional runner. All right. Okay, going down the list, aging runners. So aging runners, you know, I'm an aging runner. I'm getting older. I'm in my upper 60s now. And I can feel the effects of age on my body. I can't run as easily as I used to because as you age, your body has less ability to produce testosterone, which produces muscle mass. And so all of us, male or female, needs to have that hormone running through your body so that you can maintain good muscle mass and function like you always have. Well, as you get older, you know that your body has less ability to produce that muscle building hormone. And so since you have less ability to build muscle, that means what muscle you have, it's really good to learn to use it optimally. All right. So, so then you need to learn to run with even less muscle, but how do you still keep running and without having to do as much of that cross training or muscle building as you would? And as you age, obviously, you know, people's balance starts falling apart. Well, the balance that you get from proprioception, which is locating any part of your body in space, that's what you're studying when you do ChiRunning. You're really being mindful about how you're moving, where your feet are landing, how your arms are carrying, you know, how your body is working and how it's working as a unit. You know, how all the parts of your body are working as a unit. So, so as you age, you replace strength with finesse. And then the other thing about it is because you're paying attention to your body with your mind, then you're actually exercising your brain, which is really a huge field right now. Neuroplasticity is coming to the forefront as this really cool field that is influencing everybody, especially as you age. That's why there's such a huge number of people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and all these brain things that come from either not using your brain enough or using it incorrectly or not exercising it. And so for aging runners, there's a lot to be had. If you pay attention to your body, then you're always using that good old brain of yours so that it stays healthy. So here's the mid-pack runners. So you're just basically, you're already enjoying running pretty much, but this even increases it more so that you have less, you feel less stress and strain on your body when you do run. This is a cool one. Improve your speed without increasing effort. Okay. That should be a reason enough for everybody. I want to run faster without working harder. And there's definitely ways to do that. And I will show you some of those in some of the subsequent slides, why it's harder for some people to run than others. Increase your distance safely and easily. So ChiRunning is built on the principle of gradual progress. So you don't jump ahead from where you are. You always make sure that you're moving through all the zones that your body can handle rather than just skipping ahead. Now, some people get injured when they want to do a half marathon and they haven't even run a 5K yet. And they'll sign up for a half marathon program. All of a sudden the mileage accelerates through the roof and their body's not able to keep up with it. So they push through those runs, they end up getting hurt. Okay, so that's not increasing your distance safely, and it's certainly not increasing it easily. So you want to be able to have your running technique easy to do. You want it to be relaxing and good for your body. And so if you increase too quickly, your body its physical being. It needs time to build and adjust and change to new habits of movement. Okay, so you got to allow it time, just like everything. You got to have patience with your body, basically. And then when you start running better, the first thing you'll notice is after your runs, you're not tired. You're not wiped out. You did everything right in terms of not increasing your impact or your overuse. So what's left? Not a whole lot to deal with, once you stop running. Okay. So then we get down to the last on the list, performance runners. Okay. So for performance runners, obviously a lot of performance runners are out for PBs, personal bests. So you can improve your personal bests and race times. I can almost guarantee that. I wouldn't put it in writing, but I can guarantee it because I have seen it happen with so many people. If you're already have your eye on higher performance, paying attention to some things, getting rid of what slows you down, for instance, you can improve yourself without even having to get stronger. You can beat your past times, just cleaning up your act. Increase your speed, but not your effort. That's exactly the same with some of the other categories. So how do you increase your speed without increasing your effort? Now, in some of the ChiRunning classes, I challenge people to, a lot of people like to train with a heart rate monitor, right? It's the latest thing. I don't suggest training with a heart rate monitor because the heart rate monitor isn't a very accurate measure of how good of a runner you are. It measures your heart rate. So you put your heart rate monitor on at the start of your run. Your heart rate monitor will tell you the condition of your heart right then, how fast it's beating. But it fails to know that, you just had a fight with your wife on the way out the door to do the workout. You drove to the workout through rush hour traffic. Some guy cut you off. You had a horrible day at the office. You didn't get a chance to eat lunch, and so you just survived on coffee all day. I mean, that's what your heart rate monitor is going to read to you. So it's not the most accurate thing to follow in terms of training. But if you were to use a heart rate monitor properly, one way to use it would be, let's try it this way. Go out on a run, start your heart rate monitor, get out to where you're just running a nice comfortable pace, look at what your heart rate is. Oh, it's 145, okay? So it's pretty consistently at 145. So then you say to yourself, I wonder what I could do to keep the same speed, but drop my heart rate. Now that's a good use for a heart rate monitor. It's a biofeedback tool then, right? Or the other way around, how can I keep my heart rate exactly the same and increase my speed? Those are more of a challenge to try to work with. That's a way a heart rate monitor can actually help you do something different rather than just say, you know, how fast your heart's beating. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. So the thing about performance runners is how I like to see people train is technique-based race-specific training. Okay, what that means is that whenever you go out to train for a race, let's say you're training for a 10K or a half marathon or whatever, you look at the course, could be up and down, hilly, let's say. So if you're training technique-based, then you should be practicing how to run hills, how to run uphill, how to run downhill, how to run uphill late in a race, how to start the race, not too fast. Technique-based, how do you change your technique relative to what you encounter on the run? And then it's also race-specific training so that in your workouts, you're laying out, you're practicing for the course that you're going to be eventually running. All right. So if you're going to, if you live in the mountains and you're going to run the Chicago Marathon, you need to get some very flat training in, a lot of it, because there are no hills on the Chicago Marathon. On the other hand, if you're going to run the Boston Marathon, it has a 6-mile downhill start and then a huge number of hills in the middle and then a huge downhill finish. It's not an easy course, but you need to know what to expect and how to change your technique relative to what's about to come up. Does that make sense? So then you're constantly mastering that race course before you even step up to the starting gate. That's almost guaranteeing a more successful race and a personal best, you know, if you practice to that level. And that's when I'm talking about performance runners. That's how I guide them. Get rid of what slows you down. So there's a lot of fast runners out there that I look at them and I watch them and I go, man, that guy could be so much faster if he just bloop, dropped his shoulders 4 inches, you know, if he wasn't, you know, so tight in some places, or if his stride wasn't so tiny short, you know, and fast. So yes, get rid of what slows you down and you can be a higher performing runner even without adding strength. So, and then as you get more efficient in your movement, you can significantly improve your endurance. So over this is for long distance runners or long distance races, you know, you move better, you run better for longer, and you conserve that valuable muscle glycogen that powers your body. You know, you don't sweat as much, you don't have to drink as much water, you don't have to eat as much fuel. All of that stuff takes time and energy while you're out running to do a good job. Okay, so there's a way to train to where you actually only need so much and not as much as you probably are used to. So you can significantly improve your endurance. You can reduce or eliminate recovery time. That's important for people who want to run a race every weekend. Say you want to run a bunch of 5Ks this fall. If you run them well, there is no recovery time. Okay, and so and the recovery time length is relative to how much extra effort you put out. But if you're not putting out extra effort and still getting the same results, what does that do to your recovery time? It eliminates it. So you can race more often without the fear of overtraining. And that's because you're not pushing too hard, you're not hitting too hard. Overtraining is overworking your muscles beyond the point at which they're conditioned. Good. So, does anybody have any questions so far? You know, I cranked through a lot of material here. And I'm going to just do these last couple pages, and then I'm going to open up for a Q&A, so you guys can just totally say any questions you have about this at all. So while you've been listening to this, because you came to us from our Facebook campaign, we just sent you a free invitation, a free trial, 21-day free trial of the ChiRunning school. Now that's, you know, I teach classes, but I also have an online school that teaches you lessons, you know. So we're going to give you, there's two, you know, I have developed for quite a while over 2 years worth of weekly lessons. And one thing I realized in teaching people how to run is that it's kind of overwhelming to change how your body moves. And so it's easier to do if you only try to work at one thing at a time instead of multitasking. Okay, so when I say we'll send you 3 free lessons, they're the first 3 lessons in the ChiRunning school, and I'll explain. So when you get these lessons, you'll get weekly lessons, lesson once a week for 3 weeks. And they come with a video lesson that explains why you're doing something and how to do it. Here's why you swing your arms this way. Here's why you hold them this way. It's why you want your hands to be at a certain angle, and how to do that. So it's only one thing. And then that comes with an audio lesson that you can download to your phone and take out on the run with you. So I can talk you through a lesson as you are running. It's great. It's efficient. We just sent this to you. If you don't want it, next week we'll send you an email and you can just opt out and say, forget this. I'm tired of you guys sending me stuff, you know? So take it or don't. I would suggest you at least watch the 3 lessons because they're pretty powerful and you will notice a difference in your running. I can guarantee that as well. So the first 3 lessons are to really get you off on the right foot, so to speak, but it's to give you a sample of what can happen for a number of weeks in a row. All right. So these weekly lessons are delivered to your inbox, and you get, you know, in the whole school, you get weekly video lessons to watch, audio lessons to download, and then we have different levels of membership. So you do monthly or annually or whatever, but we really have it priced well so that it's affordable for anybody. But I want you to pay attention to this little picture right here, and I want you to see, this is a lot of what makes ChiRunning different from conventional running. And you can see this woman with the pink shirt. See how she's totally upright and reaching with her leg. Okay, so if you're upright, wait, let me go back. When you run upright, you have to push your body forward with your legs when you're upright. There's no fall, there's no gravity. Gravity pulls straight down on your body. So if you run upright, you all of a sudden are responsible for all of your propulsion. When you lean forward like this lady here is, all of a sudden, you know, my center of mass is in front of my point of contact with the earth. So gravity wants to pull down over here now, and it ends up pulling me forward. Okay, so what happens is my upper body falls forward and my lower body always moves only rearward. You know, if you look at how this woman, her legs are swinging forward. With this woman here, her upper body is going forward, but her legs are going rearward. As soon as this foot hits, it's heading out the back. Okay, so let me see this. Here's some differences, okay? So here's conventional running, and here the person's body is upright, okay? So when you're upright, you have to push off. See this green arrow here? That's the propulsion arrow. So I just pushed off with my leg, and because I pushed with one leg, I have to catch myself with my other leg. So that's where the braking comes in. So this black one represents asphalt. This is the direction the road is coming at you, right? This is the direction your leg is swinging. This is the direction your other leg is pushing. So you're pushing this way, swinging this way, and when you swing this way, you swing right into this oncoming force. That's where impact happens. There's where impact injuries happen. And for most people, when they run upright, they tend to pull their toes up because there's that braking motion. You want to, like, you know, slow down the fall. And so that's why they put in big, thick heels on shoes. And so they dorsiflex. So your toes come up, you dorsiflex, you hit on your heel, and this heel comes right in and slams against that pavement. What happens also is when you swing your leg forward, that leg is actually this slight, but you can see how that leg is sloped forward into that road. So the impact of this road comes right along here. Whoops, I'm sorry. As soon as it hits your heel, it travels straight up your leg. Where does it end up? in your knees, your shins, your heels, or it slams your foot down onto the ground. Okay, so it's a huge braking force, stopping your forward momentum. On the other hand, if your body is leaning forward, your propulsion comes from the fact that your center is ahead of where your feet eventually hit the ground. So your propulsion comes from your center because you're trying to stay and keep your center ahead of where you feel your feet hitting. This is one of the basic principles of ChiRunning. So this body, this upper body, is leaning forward, and you can see the angle on the shins. It's rearward, and you can see the heel doesn't hit first. The whole foot comes down. So here's the asphalt coming at you, and then if your knee is bent like this, as soon as it hits, your foot goes this direction. It goes the same direction as the road is going. That reduces an incredible amount of impact. Okay, you're cooperating with the force of the road. Okay, so your body is falling forward, cooperating with the pull of gravity. Your legs are swinging rearward, cooperating with the force of the road. So those are two forces that you have to cooperate with if you're a runner. You know, you have to cooperate with gravity because you're in gravity all the time. So you don't want to be upright and have gravity pulling straight down on you. You want to be tilted forward so gravity actually pulls you a little forward and assists your propulsion. If you run upright, for most people, their chin comes up and their head tilts back a little bit. So when you lean forward, you drop your chin and your head tilts forward. Imagine your head tilting forward instead of upright, okay? Think about how much your head weighs. It's about like a bowling ball, right? It's full of brains and everything. It weighs 15% of your total body weight. If you tilt it ahead of your center of mass, what's that going to do? It's going to pull your body forward. If you throw your chin up and tilt your head back, what's it going to do? It's going to throw your weight rearward. And that's as simple as changing the tilt of your head. So there's all these little things that add up to making you inefficient in your running. Okay, so this is just a brief cursory overview of what's possible. So if any of you now just have any questions at all, don't understand, or even if you have questions about your own running, or if you have an injury that you're dealing with, let me know. So unmute yourself in the upper right corner of that little blue square where it says mute or unmute, and let me hear from you. Anybody?
Hi, Danny. It's
yeah.
Jenny. A question.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi there. I know this could be the answer is how long is a piece of string, but do you have a general range of how long it takes people to see some improvement in their running?
Sure. Now I'll qualify this answer with it depends how innately connected to your body you are. Okay. Some people who are very physical, used to doing things in their bodies, you know, a lot, have more of this proprioception, more of this connection with their body. So those people are going to just learn a lesson and move through it pretty quickly. Some people who have less of a connection to their body, they're more cerebral, let's say, or whatever, will have to work a little harder to drop down into their body to feel the effects. Okay. That being said, I have, like I said, I taught a class of runners on Saturday. There were probably 25 people in the class. By the end of an 8-hour class, every single person was running differently. Okay, so to feel some difference in your running stride, it depends how with it you are. You can, from as short as a day to, I would say, probably a month.
Okay, thank you.
And a month is plenty, you know, that's good because you got a whole lifetime of running. You know, if you can start on the right path after a month going, you know what, I'm really starting to feel this. This is cool, you know, yeah.
Thank you. And that's much quicker than I expected. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. The quickest I ever had, I taught one guy once who ended up being one of our instructors. He got it in 30 minutes. Totally got it. He goes, I understand this. This works. I got it. And he started running away, and I'm going, yeah, this guy totally got it. I don't know how he did it, but he totally got it. So anybody else got a good question? So you all must be master runners. You already got it covered, and you don't have anything to learn.
I'll go. I'll say something.
Okay.
I watched your 3 videos that you sent, the free ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I went actually yesterday, and I was paying attention more to my running.
Yeah.
And I did see a difference already. And I'm a relatively beginner runner.
Mm-hmm.
I did do a 10K recently. I was very slow.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to get faster.
Sure.
I'm 54, so I'm one of your aging runners.
Yeah.
And but I did get a lot out of those 3 videos. So if the people that haven't watched it, I would say watch them, because they're really interesting and they're informative.
Yeah. And they're not even that instructional. You know, I didn't do that many specifics of what to do, but I talked about
they were little
principles.
things. This time they were little things, like the lift off your feet, you know, instead of stretching forward. And I could feel a difference. I just did it on a treadmill, and I did it mindfully, like you mentioned. I wasn't going for any time or distance or anything. I just went there just thinking I'm going to practice this stuff.
Yeah.
And it made a difference.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's great. Well, so if you, open up the 3 free lessons we just sent you, and you're going to be a rock star, just go watch them and see how you feel. You can take the audio out with you on the run and practice it, and I'll talk you through it. So all you guys can do that. So I really want you to try these. And like Diana said, if you haven't listened to the 3 free videos first, just go back and listen to them. They don't take long to get through. And they'll, because they really help wrap your mind around this whole new concept of moving. Is that right, Diane? It kind of helped you. Yeah, helped inform you to like what's different. It's kind of like what I did in this webinar. I'm just trying to get you guys to think differently in your body. All right. So thanks for that, Diana.
And I should also mention, I'm also into martial arts, so that attracted me right away. I'm not into Tai Chi, but I do Tang Soo Do karate. So we have a lot of, that just your method attracted me right away because of the martial arts piece of it.
Yeah, the martial arts, it's a very cool thing. And Tai Chi was one of the mothers of martial arts. It was really what a lot were founded on. So those principles get passed on down through different forms and stuff. And it works well. I mean, it's definitely a set of principles designed for the body, and if you apply them, they work. So I just reapplied them to running and walking. So yeah, and they work. Good. Thanks, Diana.
Sure.
Anybody else? Any questions? So I want everybody raise your hand if you're like a beginning runner. Okay. Raise your hand if would consider yourself an intermediate runner. Let's say if I said, okay, go out and run a 10K. How many of you could say, I could go out and run a 10K? Great. So how many half marathoners are there? There we go. How many marathoners? Okay, good. And probably not as many ultra marathoners. So that's the field I came from. So I started off as an ultra marathoner and have gotten shorter since then. I started off long and I'm working my way short. In fact, I think it was last year I ran my first 5K. That's after running 43 ultra marathons. Ran a 5K because I had just never done those short distances like that. They're always too fast. I like the longer ones where I can just kind of mosey all day. All right, well, let's see, time. Yeah, we're just about right here. So if anybody else has any questions at all, please feel free to ask.
Danny, I've got a question actually, and then I think in the chat there I see another question from someone else. But my question is, someone who lives in upstate New York, where it gets cold and snowy for a big chunk of the year. Does ChiRunning help with treadmill running? Do you talk about that specifically at any point?
I do, Matthias. I do address treadmill running. In fact, I could just do a really quick little thing for you guys. If you're running on a treadmill, you can get good exercise in the winter if it's too snowy out, like in upstate New York. But be aware that running on a treadmill is not running. I know that sounds funny, but it's not running. It's keeping your balance on top of a moving object. That's a better definition of what treadmill running is. So keeping your balance on top of a moving object, your body responds in a whole new way than if it's running across a solid surface. So your ankles might get tense, you know, you might land a little harder. That belt is always coming at you no matter what you're doing. It's going to be hammering at your legs. Okay, so there's ways to adjust the treadmill. There's ways to adjust your form relative to running on a treadmill, but treadmills can be a great workout if you cooperate with the treadmill. Yeah, there's a lot of just simple rules to follow. So we definitely talk about that, yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and the chat, so somebody said, does the degree of forward tilt change by person or is it a standard degree? It is not standard because there are, I don't know how many billion people on the planet. That's how many different running forms there are. Okay, just so you know. So the degree of lean, so you can see my arm. So if I lean my body forward, you know, my center of mass here in the middle somewhere gets pulled by gravity because it's ahead of my feet down here, right? So I get pulled. So depending on, it doesn't depend on who I am, it depends on how fast I want to go, right? So if I want to just push myself, I keep my body straight up and down. If I want to engage gravity, as soon as I start falling, even the tiniest bit, gravity starts taking over. If I want to run faster, I let myself lean at more of an angle. If I want to run even faster, I let myself lean at more of an angle. So the degree of forward tilt depends on how fast you want to go, not by the person. Okay, there's not a standard amount. There's not a 1-inch lean is going to make you go this fast, a 2-inch lean will make you go that fast. You know, the Kenyans have this lean that's like this, you know, and it's crazy, you know, and you see all the white guys that are chasing them down, they're like straight upright. Okay, why are they winning all the races? Oh, I don't know. Maybe they're not working as hard. Maybe not, you know. So if you're running upright, you watch the guys chasing those guys down, they have huge quads. Huge quads. Look at the Kenyans. How big are their quads? About this big. Their calves are about this big, you know. They have no quads or calves. They're like skinny legs. How do they run so fast? They don't use their legs as much. They use that pull of gravity more than people running upright. So yeah, the degree of angle is totally personal. Depends on. And interestingly enough, the more you lean, the more you engage gravity, right? But the more you lean, the more you need to relax your legs. Because if you want to run faster, you don't run faster by tightening up your legs. You run faster by allowing your legs to just move as quickly as they need to move. And it's not through muscular propulsion. It's because you don't need that for propulsion. Gravity's pulling you, so you can knock out the use of your legs for propulsion. So if you can do that, you can let go of your legs so that the road just sweeps them out behind you and there's no resistance to your forward motion. So if you notice, if you're not heel striking or reaching out in front of yourself, you're not stopping yourself, you know, with every stride. You're basically staying ahead of your feet the whole way. So the road is constantly pulling your feet back. Gravity's constantly pulling your body forward. Who's doing the work? Okay, so it's quite a different way, but it doesn't take that long to get used to. In fact, I'm not teaching you guys how to do anything you haven't already done. And I can prove that because, you know, you look at how kids run. Go watch a bunch of kids run across the playground and you will see that every single one of them is leaning forward. It's how you all used to run. It's how we all used to run. But then you get older, the ground gets a little further away, and you go, no, man, I'm not going to fall anymore. I did that when I was a kid. You know, I'm done with that. And so you start running more upright. And once you run upright, it completely changes your physics. So I'm just teaching you how to hit the reset button for how you used to run when you were a kid. Yeah. All right, so thank you. Hank was the one that sent that question in. All right. Thanks, Hank. I see you there. Good. Anybody else got a question? All right. So this has been recorded, so we're going to send you a link to this recording. So you go back and watch it again if you want to get some of the technical information out of it. You can pause the frames and just read through them. So you will get a replay link, and you'll also get, if you go to your inbox right now, you should see it. We have sent you the links to view these 3 free lessons, and they're, like I said, the first 3 lessons in the ChiRunning School. So I hope you like them, and if you do like them, there's a way you can click through and go to our landing page that kind of explains how the ChiRunning School is set up, so you can see, you know, if you want to do a monthly thing or an annual thing or whatever level you want to work at. Every level has a number of benefits. We add on more with the higher level ones. So, and there's some very cool benefits. Some of the members in the school, I do a monthly webinar about a special topic about running. And so then those people can come to that webinar, and we have a whole forum discussion about, you know, all kinds of things. Cold weather running, or, you know, you name it. How to prepare for a race, how to do things. The things that I don't really directly cover in the ChiRunning School. But the ChiRunning School covers everything there is to know about ChiRunning. I guarantee it. It's 105 lessons. So that's a lot of information. So thank you guys very much. Thanks for coming. And hope you have a good rest of your day, and go check your inbox. All right. And if you like this, then, you know, send out a message on Facebook and like us. All right. So have a good day, guys.